And your passport there, sir? That's it. Lovely. Thanks, sir. Have a good flight.
Thank you very much.
Until we get clearance, we can release the passengers. Yeah, let me sit down there, wait there.
Thank you.
Come forward. You can come to boarding card with green scanners. Come forward.
You'll give you the mask, yeah. Thank you. Welcome to the flight. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Only one. That's the
only
ongoing
one.
flight.
Okay, it's Singapore Jakarta. Okay, so it's a.
Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. Oh, yeah, to check on the lights.
Yeah.
In the unlikely event of an emergency, or when you hear the command.
The flight today is a 12.5-hour intercontinental flight with SQ305 from London Heathrow to Singapore's Changi Airport, the main airport of Singapore. Flying in first class with the airline for the first time on this route, but after previously having the experience of flying with the same airline in the Suites project on board an Airbus A380 some 2.5 years ago. That review is in the description below. It's obvious that this Boeing 777 does not have suites, but it's still first class, so it should be a pretty good 12.5-hour flight. The flight path shown is the actual path of my flight. Because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Singapore Airlines avoids Russian airspace, instead flying a more southern route over Iran, among other countries. After being welcomed on board and given a pre-departure drink of choice, I took the orange juice over more alcohol now. It's time to have a quick look around on what HOUR product I am actually in. It's my first time in a Boeing 777 in first class, and it's all different compared to the A380. But is it really? Yes, I don't have two suites that join up to be one big hotel room, but does that really matter? Just a quick look at some stuff here. Most of it will be more extensively reviewed later in the video. My large seat, or should I call it personal space, has quite a few hidden doors. One for the in-flight entertainment controls, another one with well-lit storage, and another that is just hiding a fair-sized mirror. There is another storage compartment on the right side of the seat that comes with USB and iPad charging. Airline slippers for the remainder of the flight. Well, almost. The first meal of the day wasn't served directly after reaching cruising altitude, but that was just fine. It gave me some time to settle down before digging into another meal. It was a brunch type meal with a fruit salad, choice of bread, a bowl of yogurt, and a fruit pie to round it up. As you noticed, still no champagne, even though I was offered again just before meal service. And of course, no meal service is complete without some turbulence. No drinks were harmed during filming though. Time to dive into the in-flight entertainment here for a bit, starting with the Bose headset. They look nice, sturdy and have some weight to it. As they are noise cancelling, I can only compare them to my cheapest Taotronics in-ear earset I like to use. That one only blocks some of the background noise, but people talking are still very clear. That's sold as a feature though, not a bug. While getting the headset ready, I was approached to see if I tried the in-flight Wi-Fi yet. I tried indeed, but didn't really bother earlier on. It took some time fiddling around, but it worked. The problem is, my last name is, being Dutch, 3 parts, with spaces. So that complicates things like a last name field, as each developer has its own interpretation of what the last name section of my name is. We eventually figured it out, so I was able to communicate with the outside world. I wasn't waiting for that at all, as I see it as a perk not to be able to be contacted for 12 hours for once. Sleeping doesn't count towards that though. The in-flight entertainment system is pretty responsive and should also work with touchscreen. But then you would have your fingerprints over the large screen. That remote that isn't really a remote, as it's wired up, does the trick though. As you can see me flipping to the numerous pages of films, TV series and others, it's time to talk money. I paid for this flight with my own money, as I'm not sponsored in any way to fly around the world, unfortunately. For this flight, I used 125,000 of my KrisFlyer air miles belonging to Singapore Airlines. Some of these have been rolling over due to the whole pandemic thing going on still, so I was able to at least partially cash out for this safer fare. Normally, this flight would be a lot more of those KrisFlyer miles, but I found a cheap one and then basically planned my entire trip around it. As options from Amsterdam, Frankfurt or any other reasonably close airport seen from the Netherlands were not available, London was my only viable option. And that means taxes, a lot of them. I paid an additional £253 in taxes to get me on this flight. It's still a steal though, as buying a seat on this flight with all cash would be around £7,000, just this single trip. While I was connecting my mobile phone through the Singapore Airlines app, I was given a nice and heavy blanket to be used for later in the flight. Normally I only use a blanket when trying to get some sleep, but just putting the blanket over your legs and feet gives a strange feeling of comfort, I discovered. So that's what I did. When everything was done, one of the staff came around for a little chit-chat. Question to kick off was, of course, the cameras I had with me. Not being the bragging type over a few hundred subscribers on YouTube, I merely said it's just a hobby, which it really is actually. Continuing with the amenity kit provided on this first class flight. Singapore Airlines still teams up with Lalique for their kits, and this sturdy box made from fake leather is no disappointment. There are only 4 items in this kit, but slippers, an eye cover and socks are readily available separately upon boarding. As you might expect, the candle is not meant to be used on board. And when flying first class, you actually get pajamas from Singapore Airlines. With those amenities looked at, it was just about time to wind down some more and get that glass of cold Krug champagne. After that it was time to enjoy the views. Not much to see though, except the clear blue sky above the clouds. It was time to snuggle up to a pillow and make use of that blanket. After watching a movie and dozing off, I thought it was a good idea to change into my pajamas now, before it would be too late. Getting a few hours of sleep is always welcome, as arrival in Singapore would be around 6 in the morning, leaving an entire day ahead of me not to catch that jet lag. The toilet wasn't amazingly big or luxurious, but it had amenities added for first class passengers. The flower wasn't real this time, probably COVID changed that as well. And yeah, the mirror had some stains I didn't put there for sure. Least of my worries though, everything else was clean and smelled nice. I changed into my pajamas and it was time to head back to my seat. Later that day, according to my local time departing at London hours earlier, it was time for more champagne as preparation for the main meal while I was watching a movie. The appetizer this time was a little salmon salad. It was little indeed, or the plate was just too big. It tasted good though, probably extra good with that champagne that magically kept refilling. The main course of the day is the rack of lamb, with a very nice and tender rack of meat on the plate. Me being just me, all that food might look fancy and smelled good, I still need to eat it, and just knife and fork won't cut it, pun intended. When there is a bone inside it, I need to eat it the proper way, from the bone directly. So much for being in first class and all. At least there isn't a restaurant full of people peeking on how I'm wrong for eating like I want to eat. I'd like to make the statement that it tastes better this way. As dessert, I had a lovely smooth chocolate mousse, followed by a cup of TWG tea. The flight is about to wrap up now, as we are soon starting our descent into Singapore. It's still dark, but once through passport check, it will already be light outside. Benefit of traveling to the tropics. And it's landing time. I won't show the time lapse here as that's kind of bumpy with the nightly recording. But this view is pretty iconic and can be seen year-round when arriving at Singapore from either side of the airport. I think seeing this at night is more telling than seeing all those vessels hanging around during daylight though. Ease of booking. I booked this ticket directly on the website of Singapore Airlines and used KrisFlyer Air Miles to get on this flight. Taxes were easily paid by credit card. It works just as it should. 5 stars. Level of comfort. Absolutely amazing. The cabin of 4 first-class seats is of course sealed off from the rest of the plane. I didn't hear much of my neighbor either, nor other passengers, and was able to get a few hours of sleep as well. 5 stars. Time traveled. It's a direct flight from London to Singapore that takes 12.5 hours. Can't beat that unless they build a new Concorde or something. 5 stars. Food options. Book the Cook was available for this flight, and if you don't book the Cook, there are limited options available, obviously. As for the champagne, I sticked with the Crook. 4.5 stars. Price comparison. If I paid with cash, the fare for this single trip would be some £7,000. Or about €8,000. I sacrificed 125,000 of my KrisFlyer Air Miles and a relatively large amount on taxes, as departure from Heathrow is expensive. 4.5 stars. In total, this trip gets 24 stars, pretty much near perfect. Multiple attentive staff for just first class and all the luxury I can honestly ask for on such a flight. Yes, the suites would be even better. But you can't use the king-sized swirling seat and the Maida bed at the same time anyway.
A very good morning from Singapore. I have made it in the country without any hassle actually. You just need your paperwork and vaccinations. I'm going downtown for a few hours, so I can take my later flight tonight. Let's hop on the MRT first. And I'll be spending some time in Jewel later on.